Mission Basilica, San Diego de Alcala. My name is Keagan and I'll be your guide through California's first mission. The San Diego Mission de Alcala was founded by Padre Junipero Serra on July 16, 1769. He arrived with the Spanish expedition. The expedition sought to secure the entire northwest coast through the right of discovery. However, Padre Serra sought to Christianize the native people. This is Presidio Park, the original site of the San Diego de Alcala mission. It was built here in 1769, but was moved 5 years later because of the water source and because the ground couldn't grow any crops. Didn't have enough water to feed or grow crops. This is the
I'm a docent here at the mission, and that I give tours to people who've scheduled to a lot of fourth graders. And I hear you're interested in the water source. The biggest water that they did later on, you probably saw it if you've been in the museum, is that they did from the Padre Dam, and they built all the way down. They out of the bricks, handmade the flume, and they stopped along the way as it was coming. They would divert water to the different, where they were growing the corn and the different crops, and then it would end up here. The second, which was really the first when they moved here, is the San Diego River, which is right down below.
You can see the water source of the San Diego Mission behind me. They picked a spot up there because it had a good water source near it. The mission has many beautiful gardens. Currently, there are no marked burial spots for the Native Americans in the cemetery garden. The plots are most likely still there, however, the local Native Americans wanted the ground to stay sacred and did not want anyone digging in the area to find the plots. Instead, statues, crosses, and plaques were erected in dedication to the Native Americans who lived and died there. This is the only marked grave in this mission because the Indians said they didn't want the land to be dug up, they wanted it to be sacred. Behind me on the floor you can see a cross. It is where 5 fathers were buried, but the first father was Father Jaime, who was the first of 5 fathers to be buried here. He was buried here because he was the very first California martyr. Behind me is the kill site of Padre Louis Jaime, who was murdered by Indians in the revolt in 1775. After the first mission was built, Father Sarah put Father Jaime in charge. The mission had a rough beginning. Because it was the first, there were some Native Americans not happy about the changes to their daily lives. A group of Native Americans at this mission were the only group to ever revolt against a mission. This revolt ended in Padre Jaime's death and the complete destruction of the mission by fire. After the raid in 1775, they put a wall up so they could protect themselves, but now the wall isn't here anymore. There have been 4 churches here, but they were destroyed by fire, earthquakes, and the revolt. When the building was restored, they put up buttresses so the earthquake couldn't destroy the mission. Originally, the mission was made out of reeds and poles, but it was rebuilt after the revolt of adobe bricks. Although a wall was put up for protection, it was eventually taken down because the mission was made into a larger quadrangle with fortified walls around its outer rooms. This is a model of what archaeologists believed the mission looked like when it was fully built. This is what the current grounds within the quadrangle look like. This is what some of the gardens look like outside the quadrangle. This is the Padres' living quarters. The Padres' living quarters was believed to survive the Indian riots, the earthquakes, and the military occupation. It is still virtually intact. Usually, 2 priests were living here at a time. One was responsible for administrating the lands, and the other was responsible for the religious education of Native Americans. This is a convento. It is where the friars lived and ate and did all the normal day stuff. It was made of adobe brick. This is the adobe brick oven used for cooking and making the adobe bricks. The Native Americans who lived at this mission were called the Kumeyays. This is a metates. It was used to grind seeds and acorns into flour. Although their main food source was acorns and seeds, they also ate berries and vegetables and hunted for deer, rabbits, squirrels, and rats. The missions attracted the Indians by giving them food source, beds, and clothing. The Indians lived in huts made of brush and branches. They lived outside of the quadrangle. This is where the school was for the Indian children. The school eventually moved to Banning and now is called Boys Town of the Desert. Here are some other rooms at the mission. Here are some of the patios, interior roofing structures, and gardens. This is the chapel. These are some of the artifacts within the chapel. These are the mission's bells, where one of the largest on the bottom is an original and the other largest on the bottom is a one that was put together by many original broken bells. Remember where Father Jaime was buried? This is in the church sanctuary. It could be argued that it is the most important structure in the mission. It was important because this is where the Native Americans were baptized. This is the baptismal font where they were baptized. Baptized Native Americans were called neophytes. By the year 1797, the church succeeded in baptizing 1,405 Indians. By this time, the mission consisted of 50,000 acres. This land was used to cultivate wheat, barley, corn, beans, as well as vineyards, orchards, and vegetable gardens. The mission also had 20,000 sheep, 10,000 cattle, and 1,250 horses. This was the height of the mission's spiritual and material success. However, in the year 1846, the Mexican government took over all remaining mission lands and forced the last padre out. Soon after, the U.S. cavalry took over the mission grounds. It wasn't until 1862 that Abraham Lincoln gave 22 acres back to the Catholic Church. Therefore, there are currently no remaining orchards or other farmlands surrounding the mission. With all the ups and downs of this mission, it is still a working church today. As you could see, this mission was important to help California's culture.